All right, y'all, let's talk about Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. Y'all ready? Let's go.
I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Bright here, the R&B kid, and I'm back again with another episode of On the Bright Side TV. Welcome back. How y'all doing? Hope you're doing very well. Listen, y'all, there's so much going on in the world, but shout out to Kendrick Lamar for holding us down with the messaging and with with the good vibes. But yeah, y'all, I definitely had to hop up on this camera and talk about and honor one of my favorite rappers in the world, Kendrick Lamar, as he got to be the headliner for the Super Bowl 59 halftime show. I really loved this show, but I want to get into the details and just my thoughts on all the things that happened with this halftime show. So let's get into it. But before I do, just to remind y'all, definitely go subscribe to my Patreon. Link below in the description. On my Patreon, I'll have exclusive content like my uncut, unedited reactions and just other videos that I won't have on my YouTube. They'll be on my Patreon, so definitely go support and subscribe. If you like me, if you like my vibe, there's more where this came from. Go join my Patreon, join the community down below in the description. It's only $3 a month. I appreciate y'all. But all right, y'all, let's get into this year's Super Bowl. In my opinion, this year's Super Bowl was probably the blackest Super Bowl in history. Let's just talk about it. Besides Kendrick and him doing his thing, which is black as hell already, we had two QBs, going up against each other. Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, and I feel like this has been one of the rarest occasions of two QBs going at it in Super Bowl, and the real black one won. No shade, the real black one won. No shade. But shout out to the Chiefs and the Eagles. Man, the Eagles put up a clinic and whooping ass. And they do what they have to do. Shout out to the, Philly, and shout out to the Eagles for that win. I feel bad for the Chiefs that they couldn't get that 3P done. But at the same time, I love seeing what, Philly was able to do during that game and the history they made. And just I'm happy for Saquon and for Jalen Hurts and the whole team. So shout out to them for a great game and for a great win, a deserved win. But yeah, man, two QBs going at it. And then on top of that, we also had just pretty much all black artists besides Lauren Daigle, doing all the intro songs. Like we had Lettucey doing the Black National Anthem. She killed it with that choir. Lettucey sang Down, and she gave me life with that performance. She is a vocalist, and I feel like y'all be sleeping on Lettucey, one of my favorite singers in the world. She did a great job, and she gave me an anointing like I needed on that beautiful Sunday. So shout out to Lettucey. And then we had, I think Jon Batiste did the national anthem, I think. And I love Jon Batiste. I actually really appreciated his interpretation of it. He gave it like a jazzy, his vibe version of the national anthem. And I liked it. I do think he kind of flopped some notes, which is strange for Jon Batiste because he's a great singer and a great artist. But I think he just struggled with some notes and some moments during his performance. But I really did like the overall vibe of it. But a lot of y'all was not here for it. A lot of y'all, especially the whites, they hated Jon Batiste's version of the Star Spangled Banner. And listen, I get it. I don't think it was a perfect performance, but listen, it was the blackest Super Bowl ever. We had all black artists doing the intros. I think Lauren Daigle and was it a trombone shorty? They did another song. Was it America the Beautiful? I think I forgot. But yeah, so it was just a black ass Super Bowl all across the board. I loved it, and on top of that, it was in New Orleans. Like hello, one of the blackest cities in the world. Like it was just beautiful to see a black ass Super Bowl in every regard. So that was beautiful to see. All right, but now let's get into Kendrick, and I really want to highlight for y'all before I get into the performance how special of a halftime show this was for Kendrick, because not only is he coming off of winning 5 Grammys at the 2025 Grammys, really a clean sweep. He pretty much won in every category he was nominated for. He got extra nominations in rap performance and rap song, but he really won every category he was nominated for. So I don't think we've ever had an occasion in history where artists, just came off having like a #1 song, #1 album, having a clean sweep at the Grammys, and, about to go on a stadium tour and it's performing at the halftime show. I feel like the run Kendrick is on is just something that is truly historic, and I'm just so happy for him. And it's so deserved for a career that's been so iconic and so steadfast for years. He's just always been there doing his thing, chugging along, always giving us quality music, and just being a man with integrity and just talent and heart throughout every step of the way. And so it's beautiful to see him have this moment that was obviously fueled by really petty, beef, but I think it's really come full circle to see how this man was rewarded, last year and this year for just being an amazing man, even through this beef, just showing the best of what he can do lyrically, musically, just as a man, just what he brings to the table. I feel like he really showed it and put it on full wax this year. And I feel like this Super Bowl slot and what he did with it, and everything that came before it and everything that will come after it is just, to me, it's a mark of just goodwill and good talent and someone who was always going to win in the end. So I'm so proud of Kendrick. He's one of my favorite rappers, and I feel like this moment is just so beautiful to witness as a longtime fan. But yeah, so not only did this man come off of 5 Grammy wins the weekend before, a clean sweep, again, number one song, number one album, just he's been in this amazing era. But after the Super Bowl, we actually learned that his Super Bowl was the most watched Super Bowl of all time. It barely passed the Super Bowl that Michael Jackson did back in 91 or 92, I think, which is insane. So Michael Jackson had the record all these years, and Kendrick Lamar broke it just by a smidge, which is crazy. Obviously, it's it's different times, it's different methodologies. They included streaming and stuff like that, but whatever. It still, I think, was like 133.5 million people that tuned in at some point for the halftime show, and that's freaking amazing. To know that Kendrick Lamar, no matter how you feel about it, had the most watched Super Bowl of all time, you have to give your hats off to that. And to me, it's really a symbol of how unique this one actually was, not only for the show itself, but also because of the moment that it was, because of everything that came before it. So this really was like no other Super Bowl we've witnessed in terms of what came before it, and the numbers showed that. So obviously we can't give all that credit to Kendrick. Partly, and part of that is really the beef and the anticipation as to what I think he would have shown with this performance from the beef. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I still think, all in all, this moment is deserved, and I think Kendrick met the moment for sure, and I'm proud of what he did. But let's get into the details. All right, y'all. First, I'm going to do my recap of the show, my version of my recap of it, and then I'll do my overall thoughts at the end. So let's get into the show itself. There's so many different moving pieces that happens with this show that if you weren't really paying attention, you would have missed a lot of things when you first watched it live. If you didn't go back and rewatch it. And even when I was watching it live, I definitely was like getting my life. I was entertained. I was hype. I was loving it. But I definitely was like making sure to like pay attention because this is Kendrick Lamar. And one thing I have to say is, for anybody who came into the Super Bowl halftime show not thinking that it was going to be a performance that was, coming along with some type of message or some type of, statement or just some type of art for you to kind of, chew on and think about, you are definitely mistaken. This is Kendrick Lamar. And I was telling one of my best friends, shout out to Mo, I think a lot of people really wanted this just to be like another typical halftime show where, we just get bops and bangers and we just, have fun, dance, party, all that. And we definitely got parts of that for sure, as we should have. But if you know Kendrick Lamar, you knew that this is not just going to be a simple, straight-up halftime show where he just gives us his bangers and then goes home. You knew we were getting some type of art to go along with it, some type of statement, some type of messaging, and that's definitely what we got. And from the moment the show started to the time it ended, that's what happened. There's so many different moving pieces that I want to highlight for y'all. I hope I got everything, but if I forgot anything, please let me know down below. But I just want to go through everything and really highlight how complex but how deeply beautiful this show was. It wasn't a perfect show, but it was really beautiful. So let's go through it. So the performance starts out, and the first thing you notice is a bunch of visualizations, like in the in the audience of the stadium, where lights are showing different things. And the first thing I think we see is like something that says like 100 points or something like that, pretty much symbolizing like this is some type of game. And then we see a game board design on the entire field that's going to be the stage, and looks like a PlayStation controller, or just it has all the PlayStation controller symbols, showing that this is like some type of game. Which I was like, okay, this is cool. Let's see what they do with this. And then after the start here, visualization, you see Samuel Jackson pop out, and he says, "Welcome to the Great American Game." And at this point, I said, "Oh, what is happening? This is not just a regular Super Bowl where we're just getting performances and songs and all that, and boom, boom, boom." We're getting some type of narrative, some type of story. And I knew that was gonna happen in some type of way, but I didn't think Kendrick Lamar would bring out like Samuel Jackson of all people. Like, first of all, Samuel Jackson, thank you for all that you've done for the world. We love you. Thank you for being our favorite uncle of all time. You've been killing it for decades. Thank you for everything that you are and that you do. Happy Black History Month. Samuel Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, come on. Samuel Jackson playing a black Uncle Sam, which is perfect. He, in Django, you remember the character he played in Django? When was the last time we seen a black Uncle Sam being played by one of the only few reputations of the black Uncle Tom, which was in Django? Like, I just think that's such a beautiful, full circle moment for Samuel Jackson to play this black Uncle Sam that we almost never get to see in mainstream media. So then We got this Black Uncle Sam introing this performance that as this great American game. So when Samuel Jackson popped out, that was when I knew, okay, this was not just gonna be a regular show. Like this was gonna be something that was gonna be way deeper and way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. And I was excited for what was gonna happen. And then you see Kendrick, first you see the visualization change to like start here, and that's when the show starts, which I thought was perfect. When the game says start here. And then Kendrick comes out and he, spotlight on him. He's crouched over, bent over on the GNX, rapping this unreleased teaser that I think we've all heard in, I forgot what video that was. Was it the Squabble Up or Not Like Us video? I can't remember. A previous video that he had where he showed this, he previewed this teaser that I think is called Bodies, that didn't make it to GNX. It's an unreleased GNX joint. And he starts, rapping his ass off, doing his thing on a spotlight on the GNX. It was fire. And you see his outfit is like, this like nice pair, like, Celine or whatever type of designer jeans, flare at the bottom, giving 70s realness, you know what I'm saying? And then he got like just, the regular black tee. And he got this fire, like, Gloria bomber jacket that looked like I forgot what team it was. It looks like another team. But it said Gloria across it, which I think was fire. He got the A for the PG Lang symbol, lowercase a, which is funny enough in itself, A minor. But he just came out looking fly, had an LA Dodgers hat with a little feather jewelry thing, like just came out looking fly with the gloves on. I love his fit. He had the same fit on the whole time. He didn't change anything. I loved it. Looked fly. He came out, did the GNX teaser. And then after that, spotlight on him. A bunch of, dancers come out the GNX car. It's giving clown car vibes. Like you see mad dancers coming out. And then after he does the GNX teaser, Bodies, all these dancers come out. We see a bunch of guys come out in blue and white sweatsuits and a bunch of girls come out in red sweatsuits. And it's just, it's giving clown car vibes. And then we transition into Squabble Up. Then we, Kendrick's doing his dance, doing Squabble Up. It's a banger, it's a bop. We get into the vibes. It's the first banger of the night. We bring up the vibes a little bit, bring up the energy. And then after he does Squabble Up, Samuel Jackson pops back out and he says, the camera pans to him and he's like, yo, Kendrick Lamar, like you doing too much. Like it's too ghetto, it's too loud, like it's too niggerish. Like, do you really know how to play the game? If you do it, then tighten up. And then after Samuel Jackson says that to him, we transition back to Kendrick and the dancers. And then he goes into Humble. And I loved with Humble how that's when a bunch of the dancers made a formation of the American flag. And if you noticed, I love how he was in the middle of the flag showing a divided America. Really simple imagery, but I just loved that simple but really powerful image of, him standing in between the flag of all these dancers, just showing how divided we are as a nation right now, because we really are. So I love that, subtle nod to that aspect of our society in current times. And then after he's done with Humble, we go straight into DNA, another bop off of the Damn album. Love DNA, one of my favorite songs by him. He did a great job. He killed it, brought the energy. That was a good moment of the show. And I also forgot to mention, between the GNX teaser and Squabble Up, I love how he said, listen, America, y'all chose the right time but the wrong guy. And that was one of my favorite moments of the show, not only because of what he said, but also because of what it meant. I feel like a lot of people also alluded to him talking about Donald Trump, which I thought was a great comparison. I didn't even think about that. Shout out to my boy Ryan. He mentioned that to me and I was like, oh, that's actually perfect. And then I think a lot of other media outlets went with that as well. I love how you can allude that line to also talking about Trump being, the right time but the wrong guy. You know what I'm saying? And Kendrick also was the right time, wrong guy. You know what I'm saying? To really get this shit popping off the way it should be. I love that moment in the show. And then after DNA, he goes into Euphoria, which is a song that I didn't even think he was going to do at the Super Bowl at all. I was shocked by that. To me, that was the most shocking song that he performed, because I didn't think he would bring any of the song from the Beef into this performance besides Not Like Us, but it happened, and I'm not mad at it. It was a great moment of the show in terms of just the beat and what it did for that moment, and then the energy that he brought with that song. So I think he did the first verse in Euphoria. He killed it with the dancers. He was like on the field just doing his thing, moving. And I loved how before Euphoria started, another visualization came and it said, warning, wrong way or whatever. Like, how you see that in a video game, and I love that because I was like, word, we're going in the wrong direction by doing this. But I loved how he prefaced that, like, okay, we get into some messy territory, we're going into some problematic territory, but I'm going straight forward. So this is the wrong way, but this is where I'm going. I loved it. And then after Euphoria, we had probably one of the most interesting parts of the show, and that was when he transitioned into doing Man at the Garden, which is a song that, again, I didn't think he would do, back-to-back songs I didn't think he would do, but I liked what he did with it. He kind of gave us like a jazzy, like doo-wop version of Man at the Garden, with a bunch of dudes like at the streetlight pole, like, you know, on the block, him just rapping while they all just chilling behind him, rocking behind him. I really loved that moment, and it felt like such a classic visual to see, you know, see him, you know, street pole, like light pole behind him with the dudes all there. Like, I just love that visual. It felt so classic to me, and I just love seeing that. And so he's doing Man at the Garden, you know, just, you know, doing his thing. And then, you know, he's like, what makes you think you're the greatest of all time? And then he walks off, and then all the dudes go with him. And then one of the deepest parts of the show happens. Samuel Jackson pops back up and he says, oh, okay, Kendrick, I see what you're doing. You know, you brought your community with you, brought all your boys with you to back you up and all that. All right, cool. That's a classic move by y'all. That's what y'all be doing. Okay, so since this is what you're going to do, scorekeeper, deduct one life. And I tell you, like, the first time I saw it, I got it, and I was like, oh. I was like, oh. Chills. Because I don't want to get into, you know, critical race theory. I don't want to do all that. But just, like, for Kendrick to affirm with that moment in that performance, the fact that that's America's game. That's what they like to do. Whenever we support each other, whenever we all link up, they love to make sure that they kill us off one by one to show us, you know, just how outnumbered we are, and just to, you know, that's what they've always done historically. Not to make this a history lesson, but happy Black History Month. But that was such a perfect moment and such a perfect thing for Kendrick to weave into the show in such a very like slick, quick, simple moment. But it was such a powerful moment for Samuel Jackson to say that line, deduct one life, because that's literally what happens. Like, whenever we link up, whenever we come together, whenever we support each other, have each other's backs, try to be there for each other, to, you know, to stand against the opposition together as a community, that's when he always uses the opportunity to take us out, you know, or, you know, put us against each other. And that's how they always do it. That's how they've always done it, you know, since the beginning of time, and that's how they will always continue to do us, you know. And that was such a, not like a downer, but it was a sad moment to experience during the show, but it was a great moment because it was the honest truth. And I loved how Kendrick made it about the music, but he still brought in that message with that moment, with the Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam. It was just a perfect moment. I loved it. And then after that moment, he transitions into Peekaboo. He brings back up the vibe. So again, I think in terms of storytelling, this is like perfect. I love how he's doing it. Brings back up the vibes with Peekaboo. One of my favorite moments of the show personally, because not only do I love Peekaboo High Stand Up, one of my favorite songs off GNX. That Peekaboo beat is insane. I love the vibe of that song. It's just such a banger. Love Peekaboo. Shout out to my people that love Peekaboo too. And when Peekaboo started, I was like, oh my God, he is not doing Peekaboo. I went off. I was like, oh shit, Peekaboo. Like, that's my joint. I didn't think he would do that all, but I loved it. So I was so hyped. I was on my couch like jumping up. I loved it. So he goes into Peekaboo with pretty much all the dancers that are in white, you know, just going from the plus symbol on the field. He's like going back and forth. The camera's like panning between 4 different shots of him on each corner of the cross. And then, you know, all the dancers in white doing their thing while the Peekaboo beat is going, and then he pops up on the camera. Peekaboo. I just put some boogers on my chain. I was like, it was just so fire. I loved the way they did it. I loved it. And then they did Peekaboo for a little bit. And then at the end of Peekaboo, some of the ladies come out, and then he goes to them. He's like, hey ladies, I'm trying to do that song that y'all all love. I'm thinking about, I don't know if I should do it, but I'm thinking about it. This, you know, everybody's favorite song. And then he starts playing the Not Like Us instrumental. And then I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it. I mean, I knew he was gonna do it at some point, but I wonder if he was gonna do it at that moment. But I like how he teased it. He didn't play it, then he teased it. It's like, I ain't gonna do it right now, but I know y'all wanna hear that one. But we're gonna slow it down for a second. And then he slows it down. And then he transitions to another part of the stage where we see the beautiful queen herself, SZA. And then we go into Luther. SZA was looking beautiful right there in her red outfit, you know, just doing the hook of Luther. And we did, listen, y'all, SZA was not singing live. She was definitely lip syncing down. And that's fine. I'm honestly not even mad at her because I get it. That's such a big stage. That's a big platform. And if anything goes wrong, it's there for life. So I get it. I mean, hello, Alicia Keys last year. Hello. So I don't blame her for lip syncing. But the pre-recorded, it sounded amazing. The pre-recorded sounded great. I love her interpretation of both songs with the pre-recorded. She sounded great. And I think SZA did an amazing job of lip syncing in this performance. Like, it was like you could barely tell she was lip syncing. She did a great, and that's the point. She did a great job. So SZA, you killed that. She looked amazing. was, giving good energy. Like, she looked great. The vibe was great. Her and Kendrick always have great chemistry. So she started Luther, then he came in, did his thing, did a verse. It go in, out, slow. They ate it up. We all love that bop. We love Luther. And then after we did Luther, SZA does her final note, and then we transition to All the Stars, their other major collaboration. And then all the dancers start coming out in different formations, and then we see like a lot of dancers just walking in the circle, which felt very like tribal. It felt very hypnotic, very akin to the vibe of All the Stars. So I thought it was perfect how they did that arrangement. And then Kendrick joins that circle to start doing All the Stars, and then SZA comes in to do the hook of All the Stars. Definitely not a highlight of, I think, the show musically, because that's a song that I think we all love, but it's not like a song that I think like is like, it's not like a stadium, it's not like a hype song. It's a beautiful song, but it's a hit. But to me, it wasn't like the highlight of the show musically, but still a great part of, and an expected part of the show for sure. And then after All the Stars comes another interesting moment of the show that I will never forget. Samuel Jackson coming out again to say, okay, Kendrick, I bet you get it. That's what we want. America wants that nice, calm shit. We want that, love. We want that Luther. We want that All the Stars, the chill shit with you and SZA. That's the vibe we want. I love the storytelling that was happening. But, so just keep it like this. You got the right vision. Keep it going like this. You're on the right track. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. And as Samuel Jackson saying that, and then you start to hear the instrumental of Not Like Us. Like, guys, this storytelling is perfect. And as the instrumental of Not Like Us is playing, we get this really cool breakdown section that I don't think Kendrick has ever performed before. Like some new lyrics that he added to the transition between All the Stars and Not Like Us. I thought was perfect. He was saying stuff like, it's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get off the flow. How they used to do us. Give blacks 40 acres and a mule. They trying to rid the culture, but they can't fake influence. I just love this part. It was so quick and simple, but I loved all the bars he was getting off in this like breakdown section. Talking about 40 acres and mule, talking about, they trying to rid the culture, but they can't fake influence. Like that line right there was so real. To me, Kendrick is the epitome of that line of an artist who has just stayed true to himself. And even through all the, the smoke and mirrors, through all the bullshit with like, streaming and numbers and, all the, just when it comes to this pure talent, artistry, and influence and culture and shaping culture, Kendrick has always been he's always been one of the leaders of the pack in that regard. So I love how he doubled down and like, listen, they try to do what they can to get rid of our culture, to snuff us out, but they can't fake influence. Facts, period. And Kendrick is a great example of that in real time, in broad daylight, And then after he says that, he's like, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm dipping, I'm down like boop. And then he gets into Not Like Us with the little two-step bop. I loved it. He was just in his cute little jeans and the Gloria jacket, just the two-step bop. And then he starts rapping Not Like Us. He ate it up. I liked how it was like a simple vibe, just a nice little two-step, but he's rapping his ass off to one of the biggest songs of the year, one of the biggest songs of our time period, and the crowd goes wild. You hear the whole stadium like going lit. Everybody's rapping it as they should, because it's a banger. We all know, we all love it. And the whole time he's performing Not Like Us, even before he gets to talk about Drake, I'm just like, oh my god. I mean, we knew he was gonna perform it, but I'm like, yo, this man really is performing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl. Like, I'm like, Drake must be at home sick right now. Like, Drake must be at home sick that Kendrick got the whole world singing along to Not Like Us. Where there are several allegations and revelations made about Mr. Aubrey Graham. You can't make this shit up, bro. And we knew he was gonna do it. Like, he could not do Super Bowl and not do that song. But it's like, just when he actually did it, I was like, wow. Especially when he starts to, the dancers form a circle and he starts, circling inside them while rapping the song, rapping the first verse, and then he looked at the camera, he said, "Say Drake." When he first did that, I was weak. When I tell you I was weak, I was on my couch like, oh my god, this is so crazy. Like, I was like, Kendrick, you're a bully. This man said, "Say Drake, I hate you like I'm young." I said, oh my god. This is not real. But it was. But yeah, man, he did what he had to do. He did his big one. He pretty much rapped all of Not Like Us and had the whole world singing along. And he looked great. The dancers were with him. It was just a vibe, the energy, the beat. It was crazy. And yeah, he did it. And then when he's doing Not Like Us, guess who gonna pop out? Serena motherfucking Williams. Serena Williams gonna pop out and she gonna start doing her sea walk. You know, she started crip walking at one of like the light pole stations at the corner of the stage in her blue outfit and her blue skirt, giving tennis girl with her blue chucks on, you know, hair looking popping, just looking beautiful, you know, legs legging, you know, just Serena being Serena, her just being the queen she is. Sea walking on these motherfuckers at the Super Bowl. And it's such a full circle moment with Serena being one of Drake's alleged exes. And even more importantly to me than that was when we all remember how the world came at her, or at least the tennis world came for her when she was crip walking at Wimbledon all those years ago. I don't know why that was such a big deal all these years later. I still don't understand why that was such a thing, why they fined her. But that was just another beautiful example of the way America just wants to snuff out the light of so many beautiful black and brown people in the world for no reason in different ways. Even when you're at one of the highest levels of your field or your industry like a Serena Williams, they still won't even let you fucking crip walk when you just fucking won a match. So it was such a beautiful full circle moment to see Serena be given the platform and the ability to freely and without any punishment, without any type of anything that was put on her, just simply be able to walk to Kendrick's Not Like Us, to a song going at one of her alleged exes. Like, do you realize how beautiful that moment is, y'all? For Serena, for Kendrick, and just for black folk who experienced that moment along with Serena all those years ago. Do you know how great it was to see Serena just beautifully crip walking on the Super Bowl stage, which is a much bigger stage than Wimbledon? Beautiful, like Kendrick Lamar, salute. So then after he does Not Like Us, one of the highest moments of the show, I remember telling myself, like, before the halftime show even started, I was like, you know what? I feel like the perfect song for Kendrick to end off on would be TV Off. I didn't think he would do it. I didn't know if he would, but I was like, if I were to control his set list, I would make TV Off the last song. I feel like that would be a perfect way to end the show. And then lo and behold, what does he do? He ends the show off with TV Off. Perfect. Salute Kendrick again for that, that decision making. I thought it was a perfect way to end the show. And then he starts doing TV Off, and who does he bring out? Mustard! He does that. He brings out Mustard, and I was like, hey! I was like, come on, Mustard! Like, I was lit. And Mustard come out and start singing TV Off with him. Ain't no other... I loved he said, ain't no other rap kings up in this thing. They siblings. And then him and Mustard start rapping the song, going off. I loved it. The dancers doing their thing, like they doing a different choreography. The camera showing different things, and pretty much we end off with TV Off, and he ends the performance, turn his TV off, and then, he turns the TV off, and then it goes wide, and then we see a shot of all the lights saying game over. Game over. And I was like, yo, this was perfect. In terms of all the decisions, like all the little trinkets that were in this performance, like that was perfect. Turn his TV off. And then like after you just killed Drake, after you just killed that performance, turn his TV off and then game over. Because it was a game the whole time. Like, man, wow. Like, Kendrick did that. The only other thing I want to talk about in terms of the show, I guess, is the audio. To me, I think when I watched it for the first time live, to me the audio wasn't that great, which I wasn't that upset about and I wasn't surprised by, because it is hard to kind of always figure out audio stuff when you're dealing with like a big stadium and a live recording or whatever. But I will say, like, listen, like the actual edited version, or whatever that's on Apple Music that you can, or that's on YouTube, sounds much better. So I think when they were able to fix the sound mixing and all that, it sounds much better. But when I first heard it, I felt like Kendrick was like drowned out by a lot of stuff, or I don't know, I just felt like his mic wasn't up as it should have been, and the sound mixing just sounded off. I don't know if it was like stadium issues or if they was just had issues with the audio system. I don't know, but I felt like even though the performance was amazing, I felt like the audio was not as great as it could have been. But in post, they definitely fixed it. It sounds much better on YouTube and Apple now. So that's great. All right, y'all. So that was a recap of what happened during the halftime. Now let me get into my overall thoughts of the show. All right, y'all. So all in all, as y'all can tell, I loved the show. And I might be a little biased because I love Kendrick Lamar. So I can definitely recognize that bias. But I personally thought the show was just amazing. And I really appreciated all the different aspects of the show that came together. I think I loved the symbolism that was shown in so many different places. The dancers and the red, white, and blue and the American flag, and just bringing out Serena and just, the game board design, and then Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam, and he, and the fact that it was like a board game, but it really was talking about the American game and the way and the games that America plays with itself and with black folk. Like, there was just so many things that were happening with the symbolism and with the storytelling that I wasn't ready for how beautiful and deep of a performance that it really was. At the end of the day, it was interesting because Kendrick was still able to get off bangers and, just, get off hits that we all love. But he also was able to really weave in so many different things that I don't think a lot of other people have, a lot of past performers have put as much intention into little trinkets, little pieces of storytelling that really helped create a narrative around the songs and around the performance, and it not just being like a greatest hits playlist, because that's really what most Super Bowl halftime shows are. So I really appreciated just all the work that was put into this performance when it came to like the direction. Like, I do think there were some wide angles and some wide shots of the whole field that probably weren't needed at certain times. I think it was important to show the wide shots, to show like, the whole game board design and all that. But there were some times where I was like, oh, that wide shot wasn't needed, or I feel like I would have done it at a different time, right? But besides that, I feel like the direction was pretty great. Like, the way the camera moved between songs and between moments, I thought was beautiful. It was really swift. I love the cuts, and I just love the direction and the way they really organized just the camera work and the blocking and the staging and all that. I thought it was perfect, like almost perfect. And the choreography, I forgot, I think it's a Charm LaDonna. I think she's an up and coming, rising LA choreographer. I'm glad they got someone from LA to put on for this performance, and she killed it. She's been doing her thing for a little while now, and she choreographed this whole thing and she ate it up. Like, my girl, you did your thing. The choreography for this whole performance was amazing. All the dancers were on point. The choreography was beautiful. It was powerful. It was simple, but it was intentional. And I liked how there was different styles throughout the performance. Like, there was more stuff that was more choreographed, and there was stuff that was more freestyle, and there was stuff that was more militant, and there was stuff that was more, kind of contemporary and more flowy. Like, it was just really a diverse but powerful set of choreography that was shown throughout the show, and I loved it. The lighting was amazing. I loved the, like I said, the game board design and the light poles as like the four corners of the stage. There was just so many and also let's talk about Kendrick when it came to like, his outfit, his energy, his performance ability, his breath control. Like, this man really held it down the whole time. He barely took breaks, like rapping his ass off, really wasn't out of breath like that, sounded great, just rapping mad different songs, like, just, I don't know, like facial expressions, like, just really connecting with the audience. It really was just a really well engineered and well executed performance across the board. Yeah, man, I thought the sequencing between songs was pretty perfect as well. But I will say this kind of goes into my one critique of the performance. I think this is something that I think a lot of people will agree with. I think I personally love the show, but I can agree with people who felt like, or they wished that there had been more going on with the show visually, or just more spectacle wise. I can understand that. I don't personally, knowing who Kendrick is, knowing what he wanted to do with the performance, and knowing what he did with the performance, I'm not surprised at what we got. I know what Kendrick, what he brings to the table. I know his vibes, and I'm not surprised that that's what we got. That's who he is through and through. But for people who are not as big, who are not, fans of Kendrick, who might not be as aware of him and his catalog and his career and his legacy, just the average everyday person, in terms of it being a show, I can definitely understand people being like, oh, okay, well, I wish I had, seen more visual things that had caught my eye. I wish there had been more guests, or I wish there had just been more things I could have latched on to in terms of it being an entertaining show. And I can definitely agree with that. And I don't think that's a personal critique, but I can understand that as a critique that anybody have for the show, right? And I think that weaves into a critique that I had, which is that I don't think the set list was perfect, or it's never gonna be perfect, but I don't think the set list was as thought out as I think it could have been. I do think this performance obviously was really a homage and an ode to GNX, which I think is great. But I do think I would have tweaked the set list a little bit to show a little bit more of his back catalog and a lot more of his other hits besides just what's going off right now with the GNX era. Just to have made it a little bit more accessible to the everyday listener who's aware of him, but not as, aware of like the deep cuts on like the beef songs and more of the G-Next songs, and who are more aware of his older songs, right? And to me, that's a fair compromise between people who wanted more visually and just more going on, but also don't want it to just be a basic show, right? I don't want to dumb down any of what Kendrick did and what he was trying to portray and convey with the show, but I also think it would have been cool if he could have highlighted some other songs in his catalog. I think in particularly, especially since I feel like I saw a tweet that I thought was perfect. Somebody tweeted, I forgot who the person was, but somebody tweeted shortly after the show that they realized that his first performance at the Super Bowl 3 years ago, when he did it with like Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50, and Mary J. Blige, that was more of a homage to Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly. Whereas this halftime was more of a homage to Damn and G-Next. And I thought that was actually so on point, because that's real, because like he really did do mostly Damn and G-Next during this performance. Whereas his last performance was when he highlighted more of his older songs on T-Pap and Good Kid, Mad City, which made a lot of sense. But if you're keeping in line with that thinking, it's a shame he didn't do more of the hits off of Damn. He did Humble, he did DNA, but I would have personally loved for him to have weaved in Loyalty with Rihanna and or Love. I feel like those are big songs that kind of fit the slower vibe that he did with the All the Stars and Luther. And obviously All the Stars and Luther made a lot of sense with him, with SZA being his guest, and with them having a moment right now together and separately as artists. It really was the perfect moment for them to come together. But I also think it would have been great for them to have just shown, I think, like, for example, Man at the Garden, Euphoria. Those are songs that I appreciated as a fan. But for the average person, the average listener, maybe those are things we could have taken out just to put in a hit, like a Loyalty or like a Love, or like maybe if you want like a banger to replace like Euphoria, give us something like a Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe or Backseat Freestyle or King Kunta. Give us another deep cut that's a banger that didn't have to put the emphasis on the beef and Drake. But yeah, so I just feel like, to me, this set list was great, but I would have tweaked it just a little bit to include, namely Loyalty and or Love, and just to kind of have more of a balance with not having too many things that are focused on G-Next and deep cuts and beef songs, and really having this be more of an accessible show. To me, that's a critique that I would have thought about, but to me, the way Kendrick did the show doesn't make it any less iconic and any less interesting. I just think for the everyday person experiencing the show, I can agree with anybody who thought, okay, I would have liked for me to have heard more songs that I know and all that. I can agree with that. I can understand that. So kind of going off of that, I think what also would have made the show just a little bit more perfect is if he had brought out one more guest. I think it would have been perfect if he had brought out one more unannounced guest besides Serena Williams and Mustard, because Serena's a tennis star, Mustard is just a producer. I think it would have been dope if he had brought out another artist as a surprise guest. And I think there's a couple folks on my list who I would have brought out as a guest. That would have made a lot of sense. Obviously, Beyonce, they have some songs together. America Has a Problem remix, Freedom. I think the perfect guest they could have brought out, even though she was just here a couple years ago, I think it would have been perfect if he had brought out Rihanna, just for Loyalty real quick. She would come out for a little bit, do her thing, pop out, and then leave. I feel like that would have been so iconic if he had brought out Rihanna for a hot second to do Loyalty and then leave. That would have been so perfect. I really feel like he should have brought out Rihanna. To me, that's the one person I feel like he should have brought out. Or if he's gonna bring out a rapper, I feel like he definitely should have brought out either Future. I feel like Future would have made a lot of sense. He's having a great moment right now. And, just coming off of the Like That song, they have King's Dead together as well. I feel like he definitely could have embedded Future as another surprise artist. I feel like that would have been dope. Even though Future, to me, wouldn't have fit the vibe of the moment. But just musically, I feel like it would have made sense because they do have songs together. And, he's, again, the Like That record as well. It would have made a lot of sense. Especially since he really did make this Super Bowl a lot about the beef songs. So why not? And if not Future, even though it probably wouldn't have happened for obvious reasons, I'm one of those people that I think it would have been really cool if he would have brought out Lil Wayne. I just feel like that would have been so cool, especially with all the discourse that's been going back and forth for these past couple months. I feel like it would have been so cool as a show of solidarity between them two. But even if they are cool behind the scenes, I don't think we ever would have seen it for obvious reasons, because of Wayne's affiliations with Drake, and I don't foresee Wayne ever doing that to Drake because of that being his artist and being that being his his mentee. But I don't know. I just feel like for the grander scheme of things, it really would have been a whole conversation starter as to where do Drake and Lil Wayne stand if that had happened? And I get that. But I just think it would have been such a cool moment for Lil Wayne to pop out and be like, hey, I'm not the star of the show, but I'm going to pop out for a little moment. This is my city. I'm in my hometown. And y'all thought me and Kendrick were cool. But guess what? I'm doing a little, I have a little cameo to do my, maybe do Lollipop or something. Like, I feel like maybe that would have been weird. But I just think some type of surprise artist besides, SZA being there, I think would have been the perfect cherry on top for this performance. And my preference would have been for it to have been Rihanna. But if not Rihanna, it could have been Beyonce, it could have been Future, it could have been Lil Wayne, or maybe somebody else. Or maybe, how about bringing out TDE? I feel like that would have been another option as well. Like, just bringing out all of TDE, like bring out, Schoolboy Q, Ab-Soul, Doechii, J-Rock, Isaiah Rashad, Zakari, bring out everybody in Mama, bring out everybody, Lance Skywalker, bring out everybody from TDE, and just have them like, kind of be with you like behind you, like as we finish the show, or they could have popped out for something. I feel like that would have been cool, like a really beautiful full circle moment to highlight the fact that, he really put TDE on his back for, his whole career before he exited the label. And the fact that he still cool-awed him, like I feel like it would have been a beautiful moment for him to have brought the gang on to celebrate that moment with him. I feel like that would have been dope. I just feel like he should have brought someone else on stage with him besides SZA, but he still, to me, that wasn't a big deal, but that's what I would have done. So yeah, again, I love that this performance really was a homage to the GNX album, and I think he did it really well. He picked the best songs to do, in my opinion. But to be honest, we do have the Grand National Tour coming up with him and SZA. So I really feel like this performance specifically, although I love that it honored GNX, I do think it's a shame that we didn't find, or that him and his team didn't find a better way to honor the moment and still make the moment what it was, which was this beautiful, deep storytelling art piece. Still make it what it is, but find a way to kind of make it a little bit more accessible for the average listener. But at the end of the day, I'm actually not mad at Kendrick, because as I'm saying that, at the end of the day, his message, that's really what his message is all about. His message was about not wanting to dumb things down for everybody and not wanting to sacrifice, hip hop, and not wanting to sacrifice the integrity and the foundation of hip hop, and not wanting to, play the game just to play the game. Like that's really what his whole message was about. So while I can argue that it would have been nice for if he could have, made things a little bit more accessible for the average person, I think that was his intention, and that really, I can't be mad at it, because I think that's really what Kendrick was trying to say with this performance, and that's what he was trying to get off, is that like, he pretty much was saying, I'm not going to play the game the way that y'all want me to play it. I'm not going to play by y'all rules. I'm going to fuck shit up. I'm going to make noise. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to ruffle feathers, and y'all going to be okay. And I think with him actually not performing a lot of hits, that was kind of his way of kind of, doing that and really going against the system and really making one of the most beloved, well-known, most prominently advertised performance stages in the world. Instead of him doing all of his biggest hits, he said, you know what, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do, and I'm going to perform a bunch of songs that, some hits, some deep cuts, a beef song here or there, a song that y'all heard before, and I'm going to make it all work. And that's what he did, and I really do appreciate that. Was it the most accessible show in that regard? No. But again, I don't think he cared. And I respect the fact that he just wanted to prioritize art and prioritize storytelling over just you simply and easily consuming and digesting whatever he put out. And I respect that completely. Yeah, man, another piece I want to address is the fact that, a lot of people thought this Super Bowl touched too much on Drake. And maybe I could agree a little bit, but I also just think it kind of makes sense with just the moment that we're in. He's coming off of a historic beef with Drake. And I don't think he made the whole show about Drake. I think that's an extra statement to make. I think that's false. I don't think he made the whole show about Drake, but obviously there were bits and pieces, him doing Euphoria. But he also to make the Drake part in Euphoria, the part that he performed. And to me, the only part that really was about Drake was really just Not Like Us, So I feel like he made it a moment and then it was done. I don't feel like he made this whole show about Drake. So I feel like obviously Drake was kind of in the DNA of this performance, but I don't think it was all about Drake at all. And I think he found a good balance. I think to me, what I would have done is maybe not perform Euphoria to have made it really perfect in terms of not making everybody think it was about Drake. But other than that, I think he found a really good balance between honoring the moment of what this, how this beef impacted this performance, but still not making it a fuck Drake show. There was so much more that Kendrick was trying to give off and portray to us beyond his beef with Drake. There was so much more that he was giving us. And if you only got the Drake beef from this performance, then you were not paying attention. All right, y'all. So to end it off, just giving my final thoughts on this performance, I thought Kendrick did a great job. I thought this was really an amazing performance. Is it one of the best halftime shows of all time? I don't know. Time will tell. I think we have to not go off recency bias and give it time. But I definitely think, to me, this is one of the most memorable ones in my lifetime that I've remembered. And I think it's been one of the most, and I think it will be one of the most impactful ones in terms of the messaging and the symbolism and the narrative and just the performance art that was executed on that stage that night. I think the fact that it's the highest viewed is a good sign of that. And is it my favorite? Probably not, because I think I still have Beyonce's, both of them, as one of my favorites. I just think hers is on a different level. But this is definitely in my top group for sure. I'm biased because I love Kendrick, but I also think this was one of the most well-intentioned, well-executed, really interesting halftime shows that I've ever seen. And I love that this is the first one I think that we got in history that really wasn't just a greatest hits performance. It was, so much more than that. So I love that Kendrick took the risk of doing that. A lot of people were bored. A lot of people weren't into it. A lot of people tuned out. A lot of people just didn't latch onto it, but that's okay because it wasn't for them. But the people that got it, like me, we got it. And the people that appreciated it for what it was operate on a different frequency. And not to shade the rest of y'all, but people like me who appreciate real art, real integrity behind art, this was a win for us. And this really was a win for people who are trying to really fight the good fight of making sure that we are all operating with integrity and all operating with excellence at the forefront at all times, and not just mediocrity, not just going with the flow, not just going with the crowd. This was, to me, a top tier moment, not only for Kendrick Lamar's career, but to me, this was a top tier moment for hip hop and artistic hip hop. This is a profound moment for hip hop and the power of hip hop, and just a moment for us to reclaim hip hop in a time where I think a lot of us are losing sight of the origins of hip hop and what it was meant to do as a genre. I'm grateful that Kendrick Lamar is around in this modern era to remind us of the power of hip hop, why it was created, what it was meant to do. It was meant to disrupt the system. It was meant to, make you stop and learn and look and think and listen and move differently, and it was meant to inspire. And to me, because of that, Kendrick put on a masterclass on performance art and on really being a true MC. Even if most people agree that the set list could have been tweaked a little bit. We have to remind ourselves that a lot of people weren't into it, but guys, you have to remind yourselves and remember that we have so many other forms of entertainment and ways to distract ourselves on a daily and consistent basis. From, award shows to concerts to, to social media to whatever. Like, we have things that are entertaining us, to TV shows and movies and music. We have so many things that are, gaming, streaming. There's so many things that are constantly, distracting us, entertaining us all day and night. We don't need the Super Bowl to always be just another avenue for us to be entertained and for our brains to go numb for 10, 15 minutes. Once in a while, we can have a Super Bowl that actually gives us performance art, that actually gives us a message, actually gives something to really inspire us and to think about. And I appreciate Kendrick for switching the vibes up and for giving us a performance that really allowed that to happen for once. It's been a while, and I think it's really been the first one ever that I remember that really gave us multiple things to think about and to debate over and to mull over for years and generations to come. So I just really respect that, and I want to salute Kendrick for being brave enough to go through with it. So yeah, man, this Super Bowl halftime show was definitely not just a show, and knowing Kendrick, I knew that was going to happen. It was going to be way more than just a show. It served a purpose, and it had a message for all marginalized folk and marginalized people under this new administration. And moving forward, into the future. And I also, and speaking on that, I love that Donald Trump was in attendance while Kendrick performed his halftime show. Imagine having Donald Trump and all those people in his administration that were there in the stadium while Kendrick Lamar had his black ass down there giving this black ass performance, just dragging America in real time. And the leader of our country was right there watching it the whole time. Like, I loved that. Amazing. So I don't think there's anything else I can say about this halftime show. I think I've said all I have to say. If I forgot anything that y'all thought was interesting, let me know down below. Let me know what y'all thought about the show. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you think it was okay? It could have been better. I'm open to all your thoughts. I promise I can understand every perspective. For those of y'all that loved it like me, we right here. For those of y'all that hated it, I don't agree, but I understand. And for those of y'all that thought it was mid, it wasn't bad, but it could have been a little bit better, I totally understand. I thought it was great, but I can understand people thinking, okay, maybe the set list could have been better, or maybe he could have brought up more people, or maybe it could have been more interesting. I get that. I still think it didn't get in the way of it being, in my opinion, one of the most important and dope halftime shows in our recent memory. But if you think it was mid, I definitely get it, and I want you to let me know why down below. But all right, y'all, that was my review of Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show where he was the headliner. Let me know what y'all thought about the show. Let me know what y'all thought about my review down below. I appreciate it. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join my Patreon, okay? Thank you. But all right, y'all, this has been your boy Bright, the R&B Kid. Thank you for watching. But for now, I'm signing off, baby. Bye, y'all. Peace.
I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no. I came to vibe, you came to function, just do that, baby. Don't worry about nothing, no. Relax just a little bit. You don't gotta worry, you can just